Hi all, this is Isaac, and we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. It's called the consensus of time and space. Because we all know the time and space-time is the two fundamental elements of our life, of our universe. Let's walk through the history of how time was defined. So in the midst of chaos and with the purpose of creating regularity and order, in the old days, we used churches to ring bells to remind people what they should do. It's more like how the centralized body centralizes the time, and it has the ability to influence how people perceive time and what they should do. And let's read on this quote. The abstract time became the new medium of existence. The organic functions like eating, sleeping, is not just solely determined by what people want or what people need, but also hinted by the ringing of bells. So this is the way people create to try to have a synchronization of time. But 1 century later, we have the invention of pocket watch, and somehow it helped us to achieve decentralization of time and giving us back control of the perception of time. So thinking about China as the example, even though geographically speaking, it spans 5 time zones, but there is just one China Standard Time, which we choose to adopt. And another example of time consensus will be the adoption of daylight saving time in many parts of the world. And now let's talk about the space, the maps, because maps is just an aggregation of the geospatial information of the world, right? So all cultures have always believed that a map they valorize is real, is true, is objective, and is transparent. But is that really the case? If you look through the histories of the textbooks, you see different versions of representation of maps to help us to understand the map, but they all come with their own agenda and states. So in fact, it's no more than a subjective representation of the world. Comes with their own agenda and state. If you accept the representation of maps, you also accept the assumptions brought along with it. Think about these map representations. It has a very incorrect notion of space. For example, the size of Africa is similar to the size of Greenland, but in fact it's like a much larger. So people use these kind of maps to achieve their means to somehow manipulate people's understanding of the space. And for the interested readers, you can read on this video and give you a more detailed understanding of what subjective maps mean.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hello.
Sorry to be late.
Not a problem.
I'm CJ Craig.
Of course you are. I'm Dr. John Fallow. This is Dr. Cynthia Sales and Professor Donald Huke.
Huke?
Huke.
Okay, and you are the Organization of Cartographers for Social Equality.
Well, we're from the OCSE. We have many members.
How many?
4,300 dues-paying members.
What are the dues?
$20 a year for the newsletter.
Let's start.
Wait, I want to see this.
This is Josh Lyman.
Indeed you are.
Josh, this is Dr. Fallow, and
Hi.
who's Mary Men.
Yes.
Should we begin?
Yes. Plain and simple, we'd like President Bartlett to aggressively support legislation that would make it mandatory for every public school in America to teach geography using the Peters projection map instead of the traditional Mercator.
Give me $200 and it's done. Really?
No. Why are we changing maps?
Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered European imperialist attitudes for centuries and created an ethnic bias against the Third World.
Really?
The German cartographer, Mercator, originally designed this map in 1569 as a navigational tool for European sailors.
The map enlarges areas at the poles to create straight lines of constant bearing or geographic direction.
So it makes it easier to cross an ocean.
But
Yes?
it distorts the relative size of nations and continents.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes?
Here we have Europe, drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
It has fidelity of axis.
Fidelity of position.
East-west lines are parallel and intersect north-south axes at right angles.
What the hell is that?
It's where you've been living this whole time. Should we continue?
Uh-huh.
So, you're probably wondering what all of this has to do with social equality.
No, I'm wondering where France really is.
Guys, we want to thank you very much for coming in.
Hang on, we're gonna finish this.
Okay.
What do maps have to do with social equality, you ask?
She asked.
Salvatore Natoli of the National Council for Social Studies argues, in our society, we unconsciously equate size with importance and even power.
I'm going to check in on Toby.
Go.
These guys find Brigadoon on that map. You'll call me, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
When third world countries are misrepresented, they're likely to be valued less. When Mercator maps exaggerate the importance of Western civilization, when the top of the map is given to the Northern Hemisphere and the bottom is given to the Southern, then people will tend to adopt top and bottom attitudes.
But wait, where else could you put the Northern Hemisphere but on the top?
On the bottom.
How?
Like this.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Why not?
Because it's freaking me out.
So can we really build a map with a consensus of space instead of the subjective of space that people want us to believe in? Or we aim to achieve a consensus-driven map of the world. It's changing, but it's totally possible with enough and strong community support from big players or everyday people. So at last, I would like to share a movie snippet that I really like. It's called The Margin Call. So it basically about a financial engineer talking about how proud he was being a civil engineer, building bridges connecting two isolated parts in the States, and how the bridge managed to save millions of hours of people living nearby by cutting through the shortcut, right? But think about this: what if people cannot find the map, find that bridge on the map? What if people cannot have a consensus of it? Then the value of the bridge would largely diminishes. And it's just an example of how important it is to have the consensus of space.